We'll read a bit and then maybe meditate some after and take a break. So we're starting in this edition of the Dhammapada on page 28, section 5, Balavaga, the fool.
Chapter 5.
Yeah, chapter 5. Oh, do we want to share this for them? Sometimes we have an online page. Ooh. That's a good point. I can't remember how we did it last time.
Read slowly.
Read slowly, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I think you can look this
Verse number 16.
if you want to look online.
Yeah.
Dhammapada Buddha Rakita is the translation. And I think you can find an online version if you want to. Does that work for you, Alan? You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It's on Sutta Central.
Ah,
It is on Sutta Central.
you want me to pull that up?
Sure, why not? That's right.
Go ahead and read. And
Okay, we'll start.
first number
60, verse 60. Long is the night to the sleepless. Long is the league to the weary. Sorry, let's try this again. Long is the night to the sleepless, long is the league to the weary. Long is worldly existence to fools who know not the good training or the good teaching. Long is the night to the sleepless. I don't know, is there anyone here who can't relate to that?
I don't understand the next line so well.
The long is the league to the weary.
It's a length, like a mile.
It's a league. How much is league?
How many miles is a league?
You know,
14 feet is the measure.
Yeah, it's a measure.
I think it's longer.
So
anyway,
it's just saying that it's
7 miles.
7 miles. Thank you,
Oh,
Alan.
that's a long way.
So long is 7 miles to the weary, especially if you're walking like they were in those days. Yeah.
It's a long way.
and also I think it's as long as worldly existence to fools in some sense, but I also feel like it's very short. I mean, because you've wasted your time and then it's over.
But then you come back once again as another one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't know that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're
But worldly existence is long.
Okay.
Yeah, good. You keep coming back one way or another.
hmm.
Yeah. And then the next verse, should a seeker not find a companion who is his better or equal, let him resolutely pursue a solitary course. There is no fellowship with a fool. I mean, this is definitely something that people ask about,
A lot.
Yeah,
you know.
because we live in society.
Yeah,
That's right.
And the term fool seems so derogatory. I mean,
it does.
some of the teachings they talk about, the ignorant, just meaning that they're not aware of the Four Noble Truth, the application of that into their life.
Or the unawakened,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the ones with dust in their eyes.
And I feel like, I also feel a little bit of a cringe with the word fool. It does seem very derogatory. And, I feel like we don't come into this world without being foolish sometimes, or can't get through this life without being foolish. And certainly before we've learned enough to develop more skill. And so I think, I don't know if there's a better word.
I wonder in Buddhism they use negatives so much. I wonder if like the unwise.
Yeah,
I think it's
what's
this
the Pali? What is the
Pala.
Pali?
Mhm.
Oh, God.
And I don't know if we,
I'm using Buddha Hita's version, so.
yeah, you wanna go look for Sujato's version and see what we find with the Pali? See if there's another option.
Stephen has suggestions.
Yeah. Oh, you get hard
He
copy.
uses full.
Yeah. But we can look up the Pali and see if we've got any latitude on this.
I just heard Ajahn Lumpur, one of the visiting Thai monks, the older one, I'm losing his name.
One that we visited.
No, one of the ones who just visited by Gary.
Oh. Ajahn Liam or
No,
just recent, more
yeah,
recently.
I want to say
Oh,
Punyo, but
okay.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know them.
Anyway, the reason he said that, talking about foolish, and actually it was the other monk, I don't, he said, we're born with our hands and fists. And he was talking about suffering, grasping and suffering, the first noble truth, and we're all born holding on. And then if we're wise, we die with our hands open. So it's this, we come in instinctively grasping.
Yes, that's true.
I know.
It's true, because we have all these needs.
I was really taken by
I just want to say that Gil Fronsdale, as well as Tom Jeff, do also say fools, translate the word of fools.
Well, I looked that up because
This
it
stuff.
was just.
But if we go down to the word bala, foolish, ignorant, stupid, immature,
Immature.
fool, idiot, immature person, young in years, child.
Well, I like immature, not matured in their learning.
Yeah.
This one by Glenn Wallace, which I like. He uses childish.
Childish.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And regardless, it's like the opposite of being wise. So the next chapter is the wise person. So we'll get to that. So finding someone who is a companion, friend, that's when they say better than us, the Buddha talked about finding someone who has more wisdom than we do to learn from and have as a friend, or someone with more faith than we have, or more generosity than we have, or more a better virtue than we have. And of course, it doesn't always have to be in the same person. So it's kind of an encouragement to find these people in our life. Like I have a friend who's extremely generous, and it's very nice to learn from her.
Was no doubt what?
Extremely generous friend.
nice.
One time I was saying that at a retreat, we were both sitting up in the front, and I said she would give me the shirt off her back, and then she said, some of you have heard this, yeah, the one you're wearing. Yeah, give it to me. So true.
The book here that I have, Glenn Wallace actually talks about how he chose the word childish.
Oh, okay.
Would you want to hear?
Yes,
it?
please.
Okay. So childish people. This translates bala, the same word in the title of the chapter. The common rendering of this word is fool. Well, this is not incorrect. It's not very helpful. What actually does fool signify? The primary meaning of bala is in fact childish, in the sense of both young, not grown up, and immature, puerile. While children and adults who act like them may do things that are, in the light of our mature wisdom, foolish, this does not make them fools.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sensitive. Nice.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good
Do you
to see
have
you.
a book? Do you have a book?
No, I just came into town.
Well, you know, we have a book we can
Okay,
you're familiar with you.
Thank you.
Take one and pass.
I think it was passing up my, maybe they're in town.
Yes. So where were you?
I've been staying most of the time with my partner out of town. They were doing work at my place. It's much longer.
Uh-huh.
And now my place is done, but it's just warmer.
Over there.
Where my partner is. I really realized I do much better in
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so I came into town to come to the farmer's market, but I missed it. And so I was coming up and I was like, I think they're in town today. So I know. So
Good.
sorry for being late in that.
No, you're fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good to see you.
Nice to see you. Good. Thank you.
So we are on page 29. I think we just finished page 28.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask a quick clarifying question?
Sure, Joyce.
So the fool is that if he cannot find a person this is better or equal, there's no point finding fellowship with anybody else, assuming that everybody else is a fool. I mean, it's kind of, I'll let you talk.
I mean, this is should a seeker, so anybody really not find a companion. In other words, it's better to be, the Buddha says this repeatedly, it's better to be on your own than to be with someone who's, you know, foolish in some ways. You know, so yeah, he does say
So
that.
keep looking.
I find that
Keep looking.
I think there is no fellowship with a fool. Means when we're with people who don't practice like we do, there's a way that there's something that we don't have in common with them that leaves me feeling a little bit bereft, you know, because I don't have that fellowship with them the conversation is completely different than if I'm with a Dharma practitioner, no matter what we're talking about.
Yes. And it doesn't mean you don't have friends who are, you know, not on the same track as you, but the Buddha's talking really about your good friends, your companions, the ones you're spending a lot of time with. And you're right. I mean, I have of course. I mean, it's one of the things I love about being a nun. I live with people who want to talk about this stuff. The people I've been around before, they're like, yeah, okay, you know, enough. You know. Let's see. LC, light conversation, please. It's all right.
Well, I think fool is not an easy word, but and through life, I have found that there are some people who are either handicapped or ill, or whatever limitation one has. You know, I'm not going to have that kind of relationship as I am with the fellowship.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's certainly a reminder to not to be careful about our judgments and to recognize that we want to seek out people that we can really share with and benefit from sharing the practice with. But it doesn't mean that we're like, you know, going into this, I'm better somehow, I'm too good to be, you know, hanging around you. That's a sort of a self-revealing foolishness, isn't it?
well, if I'm in a strong place, I can abide by that pretty well. But if I'm feeling vulnerable or off track, then I find it a pretty restrictive. It's not that I want to associate. It's like what I'm really needing is a a reminder of what's important. And so that's to really honor myself and the purpose of my dedication. There's pain in being in following that stricture.
Okay, so let me see if I understand. So when feeling vulnerable or overwhelmed or whatever you might be feeling, you're saying that it's harder to keep to this, or is it harder to be around people who aren't? I wasn't sure which way you were going with that.
It's not harder to keep to it, but it's painful. And
because you want to spend time with people.
Yes, that
And
is,
even if it's kind of to get away from the whole whatever you're experiencing from time to time, maybe.
I'm saying that if I'm needy and needing some bolstering, let me change. It's easier for me to be more understanding and forgiving of people who are foolish if I'm not needy.
Yes. Okay. I get it. Thank you.
It like throws me back on myself more when I don't have a lot of resource.
And it's really helpful to be around people you can really trust.
Sorry, I'm saying this I'm trying to be very careful about
good.
saying it delicately. Because I actually don't have a problem with the word fool. Because I see it as foolish. I don't feel it as incompetent. I feel it, and particularly for adults, I feel like there's some choice involved. Maybe it's a minimal awareness of it. I don't have a problem with the word fools. I don't condemn people but I certainly don't choose it.
I was thinking it's like people who are fooled, the people who live in delusion.
Yeah, that's good.
Which is, yeah, I mean, that's the process we're trying to shake out of, which means we all understand that state, I think. We may not realize we're in it until we move past it somewhat. That's the thing, I think. Anything else anybody wants to say?
I don't know if I can be heard from the.
Yeah, we're
seems like
very good.
I it's funny, I don't have a negative connotation with the word fool, and I think it's because the word I associate it with theater and the use of theater, particularly in the Western tradition of theater, but I would imagine it's not exclusively, but the use of the fool in like Commedia dell'arte and in Shakespeare's work, the role that the fool had in comic relief within like the most tense moments of a narrative, and um, what the utility was of that relief with intention. And that thinking about what we're looking at specifically here, that the fool is the fool when he doesn't see himself or when he doesn't see truth in some way. And I really loved what someone brought up of coming into the world with a tense fist and dying with open hands. And that I think about even just like a few months ago, I was having a very just high anxiety, high stress period of my life. And there were some situations going on where I could explain why. But when I would talk about it with friends, I could say, I know it's not that serious. I wish I could just sort of take myself by the shoulders and just laugh about this more. And I think that that's sort of the opening of like the sort of foolishness of holding tight and the stress that can come from, you know, dukkha, honestly. And then there's like these really clear moments where it's to hold tight in that is very appropriate and it's not foolish, such as grieving in a recent loss, where to hold tight in my sadness is very appropriate. And it's not actually a held tight fist, but then when we are holding tight because of we're forgetting the impermanence of something and we can't laugh about it, that's when it's foolish. you know, when we need the comic relief, but we can't have it. We can't give it to ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really nice, Sophie. I agree. It's like we in the reading, it sounds so much like there are the fools and there are the wise people. But really it's showing us what it means to be ignorant, childish, foolish, like you're saying, holding tight to something you may even know this isn't worth holding tight to, but our conditioning is pushing us in that direction, or maybe our other conditions that leave us feeling vulnerable or under resourced or whatever it is, right? So yeah, some compassion around it and just recognizing that we all know these states and it's okay. But the encouragement, of course, is moving from the foolishness to wisdom. And we can all do that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Sophie. You know, on number 62, the fool worries thinking, I have sons, I have wealth. Indeed, when he himself is not his own, whence are sons and whence his wealth? So this, you know, caught up in what's me and mine. A fool who knows his foolishness is wise, at least to that extent. But a fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed.
That about sums us up. At least we have a little bit of wisdom some of the time.
Well, it's back to we continue to learn from the, you know, the teachings of the Buddha or other, you know, wise spiritual teachers or friends or circumstances, learning from our experiences with dukkha and healing from it. Though all his life a fool associates with a wise man, he no more comprehends the Dhamma than a spoon tastes the flavor of the soup. Even if we're around those things that could help us to really learn and open up, maybe we're not even able to see it.
It's like being around an adolescent who knows everything.
Or even around friends that are suffering, that I know if they could get into the practice, it could help them. But you know, I mean, I live like that too. It's like, what's wrong with these people? How come they're all so nice? So I mean, I didn't get into it either.
Like that idea that a spoon tastes the flavor of the soup. It's really kind of an original
Yes.
thought. It's interesting.
Yeah, and then it's a corollary on the next page. Though only for a moment a discerning person associates with a wise person, quickly they comprehend the Dhamma just as the tongue tastes the flavor of the soup. You know, some people just pick things up, you know, so quickly, and you think, well, there's some conditioning there, you know, there's some reason. It's so clear right away. And yeah, I mean, the other part that I really, I don't know, it's coming up for me. I don't know if it's coming up for anyone else, but I really appreciate Ajahn Ganha and other teachers talking about how, regardless of the religion, the aim is the same. And so it's not about being Buddhist or, you know, whatever, but it's knowing the way things work and the way things are and that we can find anywhere. And even though all religions come with are indeed social and cultural conditioning, and there may be aspects of it that aren't so great. We can still understand that this intention and teaching are valuable, and tasting that, or really realizing that someone who is speaking the Dhamma is, or living the Dhamma, that we can observe that is such a valuable thing, and to pick it up from them is so important. Fools of little wit are enemies unto themselves, as they move about doing evil deeds, the fruits of which are bitter. Yeah.
I'm just really struck by how it feels like an us and them kind of contrast. And, I've got a fool living in me.
I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. It doesn't, I think we want to be careful not to, and especially we are, I feel like if I kind of think like that, oh, I'm the wise one. I'm on the wise side of things. So foolishness comes out right there. It's just,
I think it's more continuum than being
Right,
stuck
like
in
that.
one place or another. Because there are times that I know that I'm really off, and so I try not to act. And then there are times that I'm feeling really very comfortable that no matter what's going on around me, even when people are not happy with me, I know that I'm doing the right thing. So it's moving. It's never this fixed place.
Yeah, and we're making our attempts to understand the Dhamma, to live according to the Dhamma, to act in accordance with Dhamma. Like I said, knowing that it's not, the Dhamma wasn't created by the Buddha, and it's not Buddhism, it's just the way things are. We can see people acting in accordance with Dhamma anywhere, or the opposite, the other, or not, I should say. And it's like, until there's that full awakening, there's going to be those that's scale or sliding, or like there's going to be some things that are right on track, and others that are still needing some adjustment. And so yes, but there is this more or less, like you said, there's a scale. So I can reflect on times in my life when there's been much more foolishness, and can reflect on the reasons for that, the causes that surround that, and have some compassion and real gladness that it's not like that is, not that bad anymore, not as bad as all that. It's like one time Ajahn Sumedho, long time ago, he said, yeah, he had been a monk by then for, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. And he said, so in the last 20 years, I haven't really done anything bad, very bad. And that's a nice thing, like once we pick up precepts and we really, are practicing them, and there are mistakes maybe along the way, but you start to recognize, yeah, I haven't really done anything so foolish or harmful. There can be, a need to improve our skill in speech or whatever it is our challenges are, but we can see that progress, and the more we encourage ourselves, the better it gets, actually. And Stephen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've tried in my life not to label the person, but to see the behavior.
Yes.
Because if we do believe that there isn't a fixed self, and even to call someone a fool, he may not always be fixed in his foolishness.
Yes.
But if in behavior, he may repeat, but there's a chance at some point for change, for wisdom, and
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I find this interesting that labeling. I try to avoid labeling, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it helps us to see there's the nuances or the changeability of it.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we're saying, that the language here feels so fixed. But actually, you know, if those
So,
behaviors change,
mhm.
you know. Yes, definitely. Fools of little wit are enemies unto themselves as they move about doing evil deeds. I haven't read that one yet. Ill done is that action which, having been done, is repented later, and the fruits of which one reaps weeping with a tearful face.
That's phrased so differently. And this, it's the same story, but it's phrased differently. So let me read this. Ill done is that action. Can I read it?
Please.
Ill done is that action doing which one repents later, and the fruit of which one weeping weeps with tears. Grammatically, it's complicated. It's a complex sentence there.
And well done is that action which, having been done, is not repented later, and the fruits of which one reaps with delight and happiness. Do you want to read your version?
Like this, it's the same.
Same thing? Okay. Yeah. You know, just pointing out that it's great to be able to use that hierotapa, that conscience and prudence to guide our actions, and then, you know, afterwards we're at ease with it, and when we're not, then evaluating that and deciding how we want to do it differently next time.
But what about where sometimes I'm in a situation where I've done harm, maybe not intentionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally,
We see it afterwards, or
yes,
yeah.
and you can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then does it just become a matter of learning to tolerate the discomfort of the weeping of the, how did it go? The weeping as I reap that fruit. And we just have to learn to tolerate that there are things that sometimes we've done that we can't fix, can't undo, and simply live with having done that.
I mean, it's true that we can't go back and redo it, but, and even though we can't, when we say we can't undo it, and we can't take back the harsh words, we can't maybe, you know, change the effect it had on someone else, those kinds of things. But we can do some work in ourselves to soften that, you know, by recognizing what we did and acknowledging that and determining to make our best effort to not do that again. And also there are other means, like sometimes some decision that we make causes harm, and it is helpful to remember the causes and conditions around it that caused us to take that step, because sometimes we forget those and then we're harsher on ourselves. And sometimes we're under a lot of pressure, or there are just some situations where there's no really good option. And so we can appreciate those things. It's not to like, you know, bypass, try to like get off the hook, but at least to understand more fully. And then there's always a way to grow beyond whatever that experience is. So instead of keeping continuing to come back to it and you know, weep over it again and again, maybe figuratively or maybe actually, but instead of that, to, you know, like I said, recognize we're going to try not to do that again, but also just appreciating the importance of learning, and then, you know, even things like dedicating merit to the person or people you feel like you've harmed. You know, recognizing that there are things that we can do, acts of generosity, you know, that when we have that person in mind, that can really be supportive for our own ability to move on. And, you know, I think there's an actual benefit in the world with that. You know, there's an energy that goes up from that. You might have heard me say before, it really occurred to me that when we've harmed someone and we've been reflecting on it and we're sorry we did that, and maybe we want to talk to them and make amends, to reflect on whether or not that's going to be a good thing for them. Because it isn't always. And sometimes we can come to that because we want to unburden ourselves to get over it, but that may not, it's kinder to appreciate whether or not that's going to be good for them. Sometimes it's better to let it go.
Yeah, that's what I mean about just holding the discomfort of being that.
Holding the discomfort for sure, like any suffering, and then not clinging to that discomfort, letting it pass through and eventually dissolve. Yeah.
I don't know how it evolved, but I'm finding forgiveness quite a big part of the practice for me now, forgiving myself and forgiving others, and that help mitigates their foolishness.
And our own.
And our own.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a compassion, but it's just a really forgiveness. It's like, and I can't make it happen, but it's like, that's the way, that was the best that I could do at that time. And when I'm feeling hurt or put upon by others, I really feel it's easier with people who are close to you, but I really find that I can forgive them because that's the best they can do now.
Or it's done, you know, like, even if it's just like,
Yeah.
well, that happened, that wasn't so good,
Yeah.
but it's done. And, you know, it's enough to, if it's our own decision, we can, you know, make our efforts to do it differently next time. If it's someone else, we can just appreciate that their mistakes are part of human life, or, you know, maybe they have a habit of being a little mean sometimes or whatever, and then we have to make decisions about whether or not we want to spend time with them or how we want to spend time with them, or, you know, just evaluating that, but trying to do it with that kind of openness and forgiveness that you're talking about. And a lot of times the practice yields results we don't even realize that it's happening, and then at some point you realize, wow, I just am not holding that against them anymore. I'm just, you know, appreciating what a mess this samsaric world is, and it's not worth any kind of holding on. And it's like you said, I find that too. I can't make it happen, but there's something in the practice of meditation and developing the Brahma Viharas, and, you know, really reflecting on the nature of things that can often just cause that willingness, or it's not even just the willingness, but the letting go happens and you don't even know it happened until you see them again or something like that. Is that what you're experiencing?
Yes, exactly. It's putting that burden down. When it happened, and this is a new thing for me. It's not that I held grudges, but I didn't do forgiving either. And now I'm really forgiving, and it's putting it down.
And you really feel the relief.
I
from
feel
it.
such relief.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry the hurt or the anger or the self-criticism and it's like, oh my goodness. Now I think it's the first time I understood the word forgive. I think I never understood the word. I mean, I didn't spend much time thinking about it, but I didn't really know what it meant.
Yeah.
It's a big gift.
So nice.
I feel that some of these passages are saying, don't be a fool.
Yeah. Sure they are. It's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is the way a fool acts. You don't do it.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Whatever it's when you go like that, don't go like that.
But I started to read on. So long as an evil deed has not ripened, the fool thinks it is as sweet as honey. But when the evil deed ripens, the fool comes to grief. And that really says to me, not only don't be foolish, but also don't get into the fool's business, because the result is grief.
Yeah. So when you say don't get into the fool's business, are you thinking like if someone else is doing it, or how do you hold that fool's business? Is it the fool's business of our own actions, or the fool's business of someone else doing things, or both?
Yeah, my temptation is to criticize the fool and let them know this is exactly what you're doing, and it's stupid.
And it's better to just
realize
stay out of it.
that the consequence of being foolish is its own reward.
Yeah. Well, it says that in the sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, where they talk about letting go of resentment, and in the end, I mean, there's these 5 ways, I think, of letting go of resentment, using metta and compassion and ignoring them or what happened, and do you remember anything else there? But the last one is equanimity, and that's part of it, that karma comes back and we don't have to do anything about that. Getting involved in the fool's business. Yeah, new bumper sticker.
It's difficult because it's not always easy to trace, like, whatever suffering you have, like what action it came from. It could have been a previous life action, or even this life, but that's part of the foolishness. The fool is you can't easily trace which of my thoughts or actions led to this experience. You know how to pick that up a little bit better?
I know that some of the things that I do, it comes back really quickly. And then you can see it, like, oh, and it can even be kind of in the same kind of context, like it comes back. But I think the best way of looking at what we're experiencing when we're experiencing it is to just accept that, okay, at this time I feel this way, or this is what's happening. There are causes and conditions for this to be the case, but the way of handling it is what the Buddha said, like over and over again, to just be present with that suffering. And, I guess, if we do have a sense of what caused it, sometimes it doesn't appear, that understanding doesn't show up until much later. And it's like, oh, yeah, I had been acting this way, and then this was the response from someone else. And so maybe at some point it dawns on us a bit to help realize. And until then, processing it, reflecting, and making an effort to be more skillful.
I don't know about looking back, but over something I've done that wasn't skillful, but I know if I'm not settled and there's like disturbance going on, that's not a good moment to act. So I know more about the stopping it than the figuring out how it happened.
I think often if I'm suffering or other people suffering, they want to blame somebody else for the outside cause. But actually it could be, I mean, that's part of it, but they neglect to think about what did I do in the past that led me to experience when I am right now. It's just like a whole nother way of thinking. Actually about cause and effect. So it's, yeah, it requires, I think, a lot of reframing.
Yeah, lately I've been at a place of trying to think about it and then just stopping that because it doesn't matter. Just be with the feeling, never mind what has brought it all up. I'm just like trying to really just, all those thoughts are just, as Dibama says, it's just, it's not, none of it, just don't even take it. So I'm just, so I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't matter. Let me just feel what I feel. Doesn't matter what brought me here, and let me just be with what is here.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's if we don't see. I mean, I think I like I do it. I think back about things that happened. I really have the desire to understand and learn how things work so that I can see more clearly. But if we follow the Buddha's advice about keeping precepts, for example, and we refine our behavior, really trying to avoid the 10 unwholesome things, that kind of thing, then I think we're improving even if we don't know where this suffering has come from or why. And so, even without that clicking, like, oh, this is the cause, I'll change that, and we can still make progress. I think so too. Yeah. Month after month, a fool may eat his food with the tip of a blade of grass, but he still is not worth a 16th part of those who have comprehended the Dhamma. Well, that sounds pretty strange. Go through the effort of just eating off the tip of a blade of grass. It sounds pretty meticulous and ineffective.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like someone who has an ascetic practice.
Right, exactly. You're doing this really, difficult thing, but it doesn't really amount to much compared to understanding the Dhamma.
Strict ascetic practice.
Yeah. Is that what it says there?
Yeah.
Yeah, strict ascetic practice. Truly, an evil deed committed does not immediately bear fruit, like milk that does not turn sour all at once, but smoldering, it follows the fool like a fire covered by ashes. That's a pretty vivid image. Especially where we live, where we see the results of fire and how the fire can stay dormant under the surface and then reemerge a year later. It's really, quite an apt simile.
So I have a question around that. Sometimes I'm feeling something, someone has done something hurtful or cheated, so I really have trouble holding when someone has cheated. I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to figure out why that bothers me. And so I tell myself, oh, well, this is going to come back to them in a bad way. But that's almost like a way of, I don't know what that is in
Kind
me.
of vengeful.
It's not even vengeful. It's like, I guess I'm trying to suppress my anger, basically. So I guess I'm having anger. And so I want to console myself by saying, oh, they'll be sorry about this later. But it's also a little bit compassionate because I really believe that if you do hurtful things and cheat, it eats at you. But part of me is trying to comfort myself with that, as opposed to being able to deal with some really uncomfortable feeling that happens inside me. I'll have to sit with that for a while.
I mean, it's just so important to be present with our uncomfortable feelings to a point. Then there's a point of knowing when to set it aside. So it's like there, it's like I talk about it a lot, when whatever we're feeling, to be present with that and allow it to shift and change and see its impermanence, and really be able to not suppress it, not indulge in it, and take action as a result of that, or hold on to it and keep fueling the feeling. But there also are some kinds of feelings that just keep coming back, and thoughts that keep coming back, and whatever feeling gets provoked or evoked by that. And then sometimes it's just important to shift gears and put our attention on something else that's wholesome, and it is good to notice, like, what is my intention behind this thought? And if we look at right intention, then it's not going to be some kind of sensual desire. We want it to not be some kind of sensual desire or ill will or cruelty. So if we can have it in that vein of right intention, if we see that it's wrong intention, then we want to correct it out of our own appreciation that operating from wrong intention by body, speech, or mind is going to result in a negative result. Sometimes it's helpful to think about what that person does that's good instead of focusing on that thing that they did. That's that instance of cheating. What are their good qualities? What have they done that's good? Sometimes it's helpful to remember that we've probably done the same thing at some point in the course of our lifetimes. Just ways of helping to put things in perspective. You know all that already.
It's always good to be reminded.
We're here to remind each other.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what kind of cheating were you talking about?
There's a guy who cheated me in a contract once, and yet he had a friend with cancer, and he was like, "Oh, she has cancer. This is so unfair." And yet he turned around and actually cheated me out of money and was basically a slime. And that's like a perfect laboratory for me. Like, why? What is it about that? Or when people don't stop at the sign that says "No turn on red," I stop at the sign, even though there's no traffic, and they don't stop. It stirs up something that really makes me curious about what is this that is so bothered when I'm being good and they're not being good. What is it that I feel like I'm being deprived of? It's confusing.
Do you think it could be fear? Like a fear of not being safe if people don't follow the agreements?
That's probably part of it, yeah, but it's pretty early. It's like a deep thing.
Yeah, it's very early. I mean, it can be very, very old.
Yeah.
Rooted in something way back.
And also it's
The reason why I asked was because often, in this case too, it's less about you and it's more about them. That's how they move in the world, and it's your reaction to something very normal, to what they would do and do normally. Like this person who took advantage of you, he probably does that
Yeah,
in all contracts.
that's right.
And so, and you can't, in some way, when someone does that to you, you feel like, well, how dare you do it to me? There's this, in those cases, I often think they're moving in the world that way, and it's less about me. But I can see how it triggers you,
Yeah, yeah.
and
true.
it's more about sitting and it's horrible that you get triggered and that it hopefully doesn't happen so regularly, because that's hard to move in the world and have people who are triggering. But if someone cheated me out of money, I'd be pissed off too.
Yeah, it's hard to be. It's hard to keep the precepts and really believe in the value of being good, and watch other people who really don't care. And that's a hard situation to be in. But it's the practice, and that really is the practice. How do we hold up? Because this is exactly the dukkha that he was talking about.
For me, it's like getting in touch with emotions enough that you can go down deeper layers. And I think when someone cheats me, or even like the traffic violations, I feel helpless. And there's an element of like not feeling safe or something. And that helps when I kind of parse it out. It helps, it helps diffuse it.
It does help. And then I get mad all over again when I think of it.
Try to use it to myself because I'm suffering from someone else's actions, and then I can often be compassionate for them, because sooner or later they're going to be be suffering for what they're doing.
That's right. The fruits of their.
So once I have compassion for myself, I find that something shifts, and I can just see the other person and seeing how their life is not good.
Yeah.
Every moment of their life is not good.
Right, I know.
Constantly doing things that will upset people like you, not just you, but family and friends and workplace. It's just going to be.
Their lives must be painful.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah, and they may not be able to associate it to their behavior, but it's still going to be painful. People won't trust them, and and a lot of times people may not realize, we may not realize why doors close, why there's no opportunity, but that's the kind of thing that decreases the chance for opportunities for good things to happen sometimes.
Sometimes when I'm at the monastery, I get irritated when other people don't follow the rules. And so I've really had to work with that. And I found that I still think that whatever they're doing, they're going to get something good out of it that I'm missing out on. And I'm still attached to whatever they're doing. So in this case of money, you might be thinking, oh, if I had more money, I would be happier, I would be safer. Like connecting the money to happiness. But if you see that there's nothing to be gained out of cheating someone, then maybe that will reduce the anger you have towards this person, knowing that they're getting nothing good out of it.
Yeah, no, it just really hurt my feelings. It's like, I was trusting you to keep me safe.
Yes.
Because he was putting up storm shutters for a pending hurricane, and he made me pay him up front for also removing them, and he never removed. He just was like,
just scamming.
Yeah, so it was like I trusted you to keep me safe. So it's it really is fear. It's that are we safe in a world that's not safe?
That's what comes up for me is when other people aren't following the rules and I am, I feel like, oh, you're making the world a worse place. And I'm taking it personally. And then I remember, well, that's what samsara is. the world isn't going to, I mean, my personal attachment is the world isn't going to change anyway. But I keep forgetting the bigger picture, like if like it's that thing about if everything is done well and people are kind, the world will be different. That I'm still like, there's a piece of me that still believes that, that I haven't, that's the big clinging.
That's the expectation.
Yeah, that's a big
The hope, the ideal.
false.
Yeah.
That talk about a foolish, and yeah, there it is.
And then I think about how great it would feel if I just stopped worrying about that and just let things be,
Mhm. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, just really look more deeply at the resentment instead of holding on to your fear. So I knew you just said it.
Yeah. Keep practicing.
I think it's about, for me, it's about investigation. The practice has become something comes up, something arrives, and then the investigation starts with me. It starts with what am I feeling? What is really going on here? And most of the time for me lately, it's about the feeling of being disconnected. And that's uncomfortable for me. And so the practice has become whatever shows up and investigating it. And if I can bring it to that point of this feeling is uncomfortable, and that's what's happening. And that's my little treasure. So then that's what works for me, is to find out, what do I call this? And whether it involves another person or not, whether I talk about that, or I share, or I go to a mentor, or and talk about it with a Dharma friend, etc. And so, because when I hear what you're sharing, that's kind of the template I'm putting on it. It's whatever's coming up in our lives, the investigation starts.
Yeah. Great.
That's one thing I've been thinking a lot recently, because with especially the political situation right now, I feel like I'm seeing that there are things outside of my control. I can work, I can make my best efforts. But I realize that even if I dedicated every moment and every second to try to improve the world, there's only so much influence that I can do. And then I fall back and thinking that I'm working with karma all the time, trying to do deeds, that generate good karma for me and for others. And it just kind of really shifted for me. Yes, I want to do things to help others and those around me, but ultimately I have to make choices that are ones that generate good karma for myself and for others. And it allows me to still move ahead and try to do big things, but always asking that question, am I doing this with Sila? Am I making choices that are good choices? So it's I'm still working with this one, but it just kind of shook me and just realized ultimately that's where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we living our lives? How are we living with others? How are we just accepting that some things we can influence and some things we can't change?
And most of it we can't change, is the real truth. And when we make those choices and we make good karma, and we do things that give other people the encouragement to make good karma. They are still the ones who have to make that good karma. So it's like we can encourage others, like the Buddha said, for someone to keep the precept of not killing is good, but it's also good to encourage others to keep the precept of not killing, and in a way that's appropriate to the situation, right? So it's like, yeah, to see that we do have that ability, and there's so much outside of our control, including whether or not someone else picks up that, and like this, are they gonna see the wisdom in it and follow it or not? We have no control over that.
It's our own, investigate our own choices.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's good to think in terms of what impact this has on others, of course, and what, can we support them in a completely open and kind and compassionate way. Share with them what we know to be good, when they want to know. And yeah, and just let go from it. Yeah.
I just want to say something. I've been sitting from the very beginning, and yesterday and the day before, I've been very immersed with the immigration rates, and so I'm sitting here going, 4 years ago, I was very intentional and really mindful of my words as it relates to the teen person, and I succeeded for the most part, but the last 2 days, I was just like, I lost it. So I started using very disparaging terms, which I had not in the last 4 years. And I was just like, oh my, like, it's just so anyway, so I was like, what is he's obviously more than just foolish. He falls under a totally different category. But I was thinking the foolishness in this case, especially the last 2 days, a lot of the ICE agents are Latino themselves, and they're also, if you look at them, they're of indigenous ancestry, and a lot of the people that they're arresting are of indigenous ancestry, Mexicanos, but of indigenous ancestry. And I just thought, I was thinking, how deeply brainwashed are these men? Yeah. And I was just sitting here listening from the very beginning. Do they fall into the pool? Like, do they fall into this category of being foolish? Is there collective foolishness here also? Where there's this code of how you behave in law enforcement? And my mother, by the way, works in the fields in the Central Valley, and all of her coworkers are undocumented. And immediately it was about my mother. And even though she's a naturalized citizen, her coworkers are family. I mean, she's known her for 30 years upwards, and a lot of them don't have documentation. So I called her. She just started a great project, so she has 80 people. She's a crew leader, and my mother's 70. So she's but she's healthy. And so I called her and I said, Mom, are you following me? And she goes, no, because I wake up at 3 in the morning. And I'm going to bed in an hour. She's in bed by 6 p.m. And she said, why? And I said, well, I've been, these arrests are happening in the fields, and they may potentially make their way to where you work. And so I had given her some sort of training to tell her coworkers they have the right to remain silent. The ICE is very clever. They'll often say whoever has citizen documentation, you line up here, and for those who don't have documents, you line up here. And so you're self-disclosing your status. And so I told my mom, tell him to not get in line. And I had told her all these things, but then she could hear my voice And I was having, and she's exhausted. She's like in survival mode. She's like, and she goes, I don't have the energy. And I was like, I was trying to give her more information as to, I was going to send my brother and my sister the difference between an administrative warrant versus a judicial warrant. And agriculture fields are private property, so they're not authorized to detain or ask questions. So, and she goes, just send the information to your brother. Maybe he'll bring it over the weekend. And so I was sitting, just like what you said a minute ago. It's like I was so enraged, and it was coming from a place of rage.
Yeah.
But I also was trying to help, but I also knew I had no power. Like there's just what can I possibly do? But in the end, within hours, there was a temporary restraining order. Like there's a temporary order to halt these kind of racial profiling, kind of enforcement. And so then I felt at ease. But so much came up for me, and I was so disappointed that I did. I was using the F word, and I had not for like 4 years. I had been like, and I just realized I was sitting mostly with the fact that what was really bothering me was the fact that these ice agents of Latino ancestry were doing this. It's just I couldn't wrap my finger around it. I can see how white folks could do that, maybe because whether they're implicit or explicitly racist and doing this kind of work, that was kind of like, I kind of was like, I can see them doing that, but I just couldn't. I was just trying, and I had called so many of my friends were like, help me understand, how can our own people do this? And no one had an answer. I was just like, it's just they're deeply, deeply brainwashed. There's probably self-hatred going on, just so much more. So I was thinking this from the very beginning. I was like, so maybe they're just foolish. Because I don't want to believe that they have that level of hatred for their own people.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's foolishness, and the foolishness is on the worldly, conventional level, and it's also on the ultimate level of not understanding how things work. And I'm wondering if what might be part of what's happening is that aligning with the strong man, with the powers, is what they want to do for safety. Like in an oppressed group, then if you can be one of the good ones that kind of gets in,
right,
then you're safe, and you can do horrible things, I think, to try to maintain that status of safety. Without, I mean, I don't, they must not be thinking about these people as people. They're not thinking about these people as their own brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, grandparents, they're not. And I think, there are ways in which, like you said, we're brainwashed. Human beings can become brainwashed. And I think fear has a huge amount to do with it.
Yeah.
And if someone is justifying what they're doing and they're feeling the power of being able to do it, that's solidifying their sense of self and making them feel stronger. And that can be addictive, and yeah, I think it's complicated probably, but that might be where it is. You mind if I add it? Please go ahead.
You mentioned collective foolishness.
Yes.
And I see that very much at play. Like it's the system that's racist, and it doesn't matter the race of the people who get involved in the system. And it just shows that yeah, we're so vulnerable to our conditioning and outside influences. This foolishness, it's not like it always just emerges from within. It can be get influenced by other people who are acting foolishly without. But that helps me to have maybe less anger towards specific people when I see that it's actually just the whole system, this institutional racism. It's not racist individuals doing these things. Of course, on one level it is, right? I mean, but their actions are racist, but not to like lay all the blame right at their feet.
No, I just, on some level, I have compassion. Because I can't imagine how much they're hurting to really participate and they're effectively executing the order from Mr. T and his people. So they're the ones doing the work. And so you just think to yourself, how much is this person really hurting and collectively hurting to do this? And just so anyway, for me, it was kind of, and not just Latinos, people of color, overwhelmingly people of color are ICE agents. And I was just like, scratching my head, just going, this is horrible. But anyway, in the end, thankfully for Daniel, and friends who have practiced Buddhism, in the last 4 years, my reaction to all of this has shifted. I would have stayed in the very angry kind of place. I would have using way more disparaging terms. So I kind of was like, okay, I'm maturing here. I'm maturing up here, but the pain is the same. I have found a way to sit with it. But it's just, it's deeply real for me. And just accepting that my mom, if she experiences her community being taken away, it's going to be a massive shock to her nervous system and kind of, so it's just seeing, and just of course, just trying to be of some help, direct help has been helpful, but.
Yeah, and one way to think about it, when people we're close to are possibly going to go through something really traumatic, then strengthening ourselves, because that's the job you have. Is providing her some maybe safety and comfort and support. Empathy.
So, but it hits home for me a little more because I was indoctrinated for 7 years of my life. And so it's real.
Yes.
And so
you know how easy it is to be in such a situation.
It's
not your fault.
And not understanding what that meant. And my mom would always kind of have a reaction when the police all. I have the same reaction now because I internalized the reaction of the police for 7 years. So it's also thinking about children who are confused and not understanding what's going on, being separated from their parents. So anyway, so at least these last 2 days put me in gave me clarity. Okay, what can I do? What's in my power? This is much larger than it can't be addressed by a single organization or a governor. So yes, collective foolishness is what I'm taking my work.
Definitely. And that we become more foolish in the collective, becoming part of a mob, say, doing something you would never do on your own.
Right.
And being caught up in it, and then what's the pain going to be like when you come out of that fog of that energy and see what you've done?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
If
they ever do.
And it's like we've been saying, even if they don't really become consciously aware, it changes their life so much. I mean, so much PTSD when people are caught up in a group harmful activity. Later.
Yeah, not to put aside anybody's pain or grief or culture. My culture, I come from an Irish culture and a race that has been persecuted. And I was so ignorant of my family situation, the Irish oppression. And a cousin of mine some years ago handed me a book. This is maybe a good 20 years ago. And it was a book about the Irish in London during the 1950s and how those immigrants into England who are Irish, who had risen to a certain position, were taking advantage of the new Irish immigrants. This is quite common in all cultures. It's what we talk about in the Dhamma. It's greed, and I was totally shocked when I read this. I was so shocked that somebody of one culture could persecute of the same culture. So it is about the human condition, and it's going on everywhere, as you report right now, today. Yeah, I think that's my feeling at this time in my life of being somewhat disconnected from some of that knowledge, being removed. I watch how I've been removed and disconnected from information. I've been foolish. And so I have a chance to not be so foolish today.
It's good to remember that. Whatever we've been up to, we can change it. And we have that chance. The next one is a little hard to understand in this translation in the book. To his own ruin, the fool gains knowledge, for it cleaves his head and destroys his innate goodness. So I looked it up. Oh, I wanted to see that. Yeah. This one, whatever fame a fool, I think that got changed. Something new.
No. Yeah, that's where we're in it. We did the milk one.
Okay, yeah. Whatever fame a fool may get. So it's not just talking about knowledge, gaining knowledge, but whatever fame a fool may get, it only gives rise to harm. Whatever good features they have, it ruins and blows their head into bits.
Yeah, so they've reversed the order of the sentences, but it's the same meaning.
And they talk about fame rather than knowledge, whatever knowledge one gains. So
I kind of understand that. I mean, it's a little obscure, but I'm thinking about these political leaders who
yes,
they think they're in control and they get rewarded kind of superficially, and then it destroys everything, including themselves.
Yeah, and
Does
the
that
higher
make
up
any
you go,
sense?
the more your foolish characteristics come into sharp relief, really expanded.
So when is his head gonna blow to bits?
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for that too. Where's the blown to bits?
Watch out for the ill will.
It's
No, I say that out of compassion,
It's profound.
out of kindness for everybody.
Oh, I see.
Oops, I said out of profound.
Are you gonna have us all over to your house where we can say whatever we want? Man. Okay. So the fool seeks an undeserved reputation, a precedence, among monks, authority over monasteries, and honor among householders. So this is about monastics who are being foolish.
Mm.
Can we go back to the one before? And innate goodness, what is that referring to?
Yeah, good question. This one,
Goodness, innate?
whatever good features they have in ruins.
Mm.
So I'm
Okay,
not
so-
sure about that innateness.
'Cause it's kind of an optimistic take
yeah.
on
Good,
people.
positive.
Like they're innately good.
You don't feel that way?
I think they have both good and bad seeds. And, well, they have ignorance, so that's not so great.
I think about police officers. I'm sorry, were you done? Police officers that I've worked with who, can't be kind or gentle with their children. And they go home and they fight with their spouses and partners. And they're tortured.
Yes.
From their work.
Yeah.
The conditioning being so rough.
Yeah.
And from having
to
to
be out of the world.
having to deny their own innate goodness.
Yeah, it gets
It's terrible to have to do that to yourself. Having been one who denied my own innate goodness for a long time, I can really empathize with that a lot. I was pretty hard-hearted.
I think that question of innate goodness or innate foolishness or whatever is really I think in as far as I can see in the Dhamma and people who have taken the path all the way to the end, I think the way they would think of it is as long as we're operating from the sense of self, there's this distortion, this misunderstanding of reality. But when there's that realization of ultimate reality, there is this seeing of this sort of this sometimes like Ajahn Sumedho referred to it as the source. Like he says you're perfect already, fundamentally. When you realize that you're not this individual entity with this personality and this body and so on, and you recognize that the source is Dhamma, you're really Dhamma, you're really, sort of pure consciousness, but there's no you. So that could be considered like a fundamental goodness. It is, talked about as there being love in that. It's a positive reality. So that's kind of where maybe this comes from. I can't see really where this comes out of the Pali that's here, this innateness. But it destroys the good qualities of this person or obscures them at the very least.
That's how it was with me. My impulses to be generous and kind, I held those down. And when I finally, and I was on the month-long, finally began to feel the real yearning of my heart to generosity. And then I would like slip into conditioning. Well, no, what of this and what of that? And my heart was going, it doesn't matter. And so then I could feel that when I was denying that part, it was like I was nicking my heart with the corner of a razor. And I'm so grateful that now I can feel that natural, real impulse to be kind and generous. Not that I always am, certainly not. Sometimes I don't want someone to, cut me off on the road. But I can
cheat you in the contract.
Yeah, no, even
like that.
Even simple things, but just I can feel when I'm denying the impulse of the heart, which in a natural impulse is to care. And I grew up like way cut off from that, way cut off.
Because of this idea that that's protective, I would assume.
I think so.
Like when you're halting that inclination to be generous, And you said, then there's this, the mind goes into these reasons why you shouldn't do it. It's probably protective, like, well, then this could happen and you really need that, or, you know, like something.
Or the rules say this, or, you know, 8 million things. Even as a young woman, when my sisters wanted to borrow something, I would say, don't ask me, just take it. I couldn't bring myself to
offer it.
Yes, to just give them, it's fine. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I really, really believe that we have this profound innate yearning to have that connection, to care, and to just naturally be generous.
I mean, I think we see that in that the Buddha is encouraging generosity from the very beginning of exposure to the Dhamma. And that from that, we get in touch with that feeling, that good feeling that we're also encouraged to not take personally, to realize that this is part of the flow of this offering and the results that return, and this good feeling that just comes from giving without any wish for anything in return. And I think that's very much in line with what you're saying, you know, to encourage people to partake in experiences that reveal that to us. Yeah. Nice.
And then we have punya.
Punya, yeah.
Okay, it's gonna take me a while to reconnect my thoughts because there've been so many shifts.
Sure. I don't know if we can make this go closer to you. We might be able to hear you better. Don't think about it. Take your time.
I've been trying to listen and remember what I was going to say. And this is so hard. And I never know when it's okay to share because I don't know how to jump in.
Stick that hand up, right?
Well,
You can do it. Do it.
but that's okay. Just. But you know how to do it, so you don't know that I can do it. I can't do it. Okay, so I had a dad who was really kind of an angry person, and one of the shares way back that was kind of leading to this thread, it just reminded me of my dad. And you know, I worked really hard on this, and this is before I had the Dhamma. I don't know why I did this. I just wanted to think of him not as mean and evil. It was very easy to go in that direction, but I didn't want to go there. And so finally I learned about conditioning, and I could see that thread. His father was an alcoholic and very mean, and he grew up with it. And I think that he, you know, smoothed a lot of that out. In his own life, he wasn't like his father, you know, like breaking a beer bottle on the coffee table at a Christmas celebration. I mean, it would terrify me.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was another piece that I wanted to connect to this, not to be like, oh, poor me. It wasn't that, but I just always think about this phrase. I don't know why. It's a very dear phrase to me from the Dhamma. But whatever one frequently thinks or ponders upon will become the inclination of their lives or mind. I can't remember exactly. But that conditioning, that's what it's spelling out, is this conditioning. And so not to so much blame, but to understand.
Yeah.
And even when talking about it, to try to reframe it in that kind of way as well. So, I'm shaking all over.
I can hear the panic. Your body's in
No,
panic.
because many shares were going by, and I'm trying to hold this. I'm trying to listen. That's why I never share, because I'm so scared.
Yeah,
I can't even raise my
hear
hand.
it.
Sometimes raise my hand on a Zoom call of all things you'd think you'd be safe. But then all of a sudden somebody who has this really long share comes on. And then by the time I can't, I lower my hand because I can't remember what I wanted to say. It's very challenging just because I wasn't allowed to really talk at the dinner table or whatever. So I'm just trying to
It must
heal.
have been really scary.
Oh, it was very scary.
I can hear the panic in you.
Well, I just want you to know, I hardly ever have raised my hand or shared in anything. And I call Zoom as public. I never raised my hand in school. I did not talk.
Yeah.
It was too scary. So the Dhamma has been so healing for me.
Yeah, and that quote is so powerful
I
because
love
it
that quote.
helps us, as you said, that part about being able to recognize that other people have their conditioning that they're operating from. And we have our conditioning that we're operating from. And until we start to develop some mindfulness and reflection, investigating, we're in that groove and we keep repeating those actions.
Yeah, to be silent.
Whichever.
Oh, that's
whichever
mine.
thing,
Yeah, that's really mine. Because I don't think I'm worthy. I don't have anything good to share. Yeah, I'm endangering myself by putting myself out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the beauty of that quote is that because what we think, if we start to have mindfulness and wisdom along with it, then we can make choices about what we think over and over again. And we can actually change that trajectory, which is what you've experienced.
Which is what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah. And you all are. You know,
So
see
Zoom
something
has been really an asset to me. It took me a very long time. I mean, it could have even been, it's not months, it's more like maybe a year or two,
Yeah.
where I thought, oh, this is an opportunity. But it took me a while before I could actually do it. But I had that thought, and I was holding that thought all the time and just trying to plan. But some people, as you know, on our Zoom calls, they just, jump right in there.
Different conditioning.
Oh, no. I said, what about us? What about us who can't do that? Would you please provide some space? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ask for that.
Yeah, we should have everyone who's afraid to talk, raise your hand.
Don't you dare raise your hand.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of the chapter.
What we should finish it.
Let both lay people and monastics think that it was done by me, is what the fool thinks. In every work, great or small, let them follow me. Such is the ambition of the fool. Thus their desire and pride increase.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, we
That's
see
very
that
cool.
going on a lot. One is in the last verse, I think here. One is the one is the quest for worldly gain, and quite another is the path to Nibbana. Clearly understanding this, let not the monk, the disciple of the Buddha, be carried away by worldly acclaim, but develop detachment instead.
About that last thing, we're encouraged to restrain sensual desires and all. And I thought, I kind of hadn't, anyway, it just, what occurred to me is you can't both, this is a new thought, it's pretty obvious, but it's new to me. You can't both pursue a spiritual path and a sensual path. It's like one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't occur to me. I thought, oh yeah, I'm just, indulging in a little.
Foot in each one.
Yeah, it's not. But then I thought, oh no. This is definitely, if I'm doing one, I'm not doing the other. I've been practicing many, many years, and this was.
Yeah, you just got
finally.
Yeah. There's hope for us yet.
Just sunk in.
Is that your experience? Is that your experience?
I'm not there yet.
But that's why they have monasteries. It's really to isolate yourself in those institutions. So get thee to a monastery.
Yeah, but then Deepa Ma, was encouraging the people to just meditate in every moment of your daily life. Just be present.
Yeah, you certainly can practice. I think I understand what you're saying, and we can dedicate ourselves to the practice of Dhamma and the development of the path, regardless of the form. And it's not so much I mean, it's certainly useful to see how we might get caught up in the craving and clinging to sensual experience and noticing that. But that's our work, no matter what's coming up. Whether it's a craving and clinging to some sensual experience, or trying to sort out, well, what do, maybe a person's having trouble with the mattress they sleep on and they need to get a different one. And why would we want to do it? Because being able to sleep well is important to be able to be healthy in practice. Okay. Or even if you don't think it through all the way to the practice part, it's good for your own system, your own body. Or what we eat, having it be something that's nutritious. And as you get older, food is less appealing sometimes. It's good for it to be appealing, to be able to really keep your body nourished. So it's like knowing why to do it. That it's not just this craving or experience. And then that's possible. So when I hear you say we choose whether we're going to walk the path or not. But it can be, in every moment we make that choice, or in every context we make that choice.
And I don't mean it in a really harsh way. I just mean it like I had this thought like, oh, I can take time out now.
Now I'm gonna get back to my real fun.
Yeah,
me too.
It's a big deal, but it's like, no, there's no time out. And it doesn't have to be, harsh. But anyway, that started sinking in that you don't get to be on both paths really, because they're not going in the same direction. You're going to be split asunder.
We don't get to numb ourselves sometimes. Is it not okay to numb ourselves sometimes?
Sometimes
it just feels too hard.
I mean, I've certainly been with people who are so distraught, they wear themselves out. And to help by providing some kind of wholesome distraction for a little while, to just put that down and then come back to it later, can be useful. And of course, most of the time we have enough awareness for ourselves that we can decide to do that. Just, I've said this many times before, maybe you watch an innocent movie.
Right.
And then I'll come back to this later. Because sometimes it's better for us to take that break. But we know why we're doing it. So this is the thing, to know why we're doing it. Why do I want to eat this kind of food? Why do I not in a kind of compulsive way of investigating, but as a practice, to come, what are the benefits here? Is this in accordance with Dhamma or somehow against it? Is this somehow bringing up more defilements, or is this calming them down?
Sometimes we just need comfort. I guess it's really self-compassion.
Yeah. Why do you want to take that hot bath? Maybe there's,
because your body is saying,
body's aching.
Give me a break.
Sounds.
I have the question. Is this for my well-being, or is it for the well-being of others? And that obviously not just a simple thing.
Yeah.
It helps me make a choice. And oftentimes, it's good just to watch it. So the movie, just to distract yourself and laugh a little bit.
Yeah, and that idea of knowing what's for our own good and for the good of others. This is one of the things the Buddha mentions frequently. And there are certain activities that cause us, or certain choices we might make that cause us to lose track of knowing what's good for ourselves and for others. Intoxicants being one thing that kind of can, and being intoxicated in anything, in youth, in wealth, in health, life, but to really see, do I know what's good for myself and good for others? So those are really useful reflections.
I just had a story I want to tell you about my mother.
Okay.
It goes back to the innate goodness.
Uh-huh.
That she was raised in a really abusive home, and she recreated that with us, my siblings and me. So she just lived with anger, and there was a lot of shame. But then at the very end of her life, the last few hours of her life, I saw this whole different part of her. And I think it was her innate goodness that was there all along. But she'd been so abused, she didn't have access to it. But she got soft and it was there. It was really miraculous at the end of her life. So I think about that with innate goodness.
That makes me so sad.
Yeah.
That she denied that part of herself.
Yeah. I'm glad you're able to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story.
it is. Thank you.
And that you know the difference.
Yeah.
You know that that's there. Yeah. You're sensitive. You're able to see it in her. Yeah, it's great.
Such a gift.
Yeah, I was just spending time with someone who said that when they were, their father, as they knew him, was like, it's difficult in some ways, or there were ramifications from that. But then later on in life, he remarried. His wife had died, and he remarried. And when this person would talk to the wife, she described someone this person never knew. It was like the father had changed. He could be different in this different context with this different person. And that was really, I think, kind of precious for her to be able to know that there's that side of him, even though she wasn't really able to access that.
I just want to say, I don't think there's too many fools in this room.
We've learned a lot, I
Be
think.
foolish at copying.
Can be foolish.
Okay, there you go.
Also, there's a fool inside you. Is that what you said?
Yeah, next time we'll pick up where we left off today.
Yeah, there's a wise
It'll be the wise person.
Yeah.
And we'll get a chance to reflect on that advice.
So, Elizabeth, you have my book with not as nice bookmark as yours. Look at that great. This is.
How did we do that?
Well, what do you mean, blue white man?
I didn't know I did that. Oh, that's weird. I never would have known.
You weren't a fool.
I'm a little foolish here. You just proved me a little
But you have a
foolish.
nicer bookmark. I could have not said anything. That's your bookmark.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up, but it feels like maybe a blessing chant. Is in order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little, I think, very good, but
Yeah.
a little,
Been an emotional discussion.
yeah, it's a lot to unpack, to feel. So, I'm gonna just take us through a couple of chants here, and you might recognize them. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Jayanto bodhiyamule sakyanang nandivadanam evaṃ tavam vijayo hijaya sujaya
Pukale Aparajita Palanke Sise Patawi Pokare Abhiseke Sababudanam Agapato Pamodati Sunakatang Sumangalam Supapatang Suhutitang Sukano Sumahuto Chasuitang Brahmachari Supadakinam Kaya Kamang Vacha Kamang Padakina Padakina Mano Kamang Hanidite Padakina Padakina Nikat Wanalabantate Padakine. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Buddhas. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Dhamma. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Sangha. May you ever be well.
So that one in the middle was the victory chant.
That's
Or
my
the best
favorite.
victory.
Very favorite.
Yes.